Welcome to After Dark at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, featuring Katrina Ness, Vanessa Collins, and Ted Ings. This episode is brought to you by BG Products, partners beyond products. And now for your hosts, Ted Ings, Vanessa Collins, and Katrina Ness.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday, and welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable's After Dark show. And tonight is very special because we have the one and only Michelle McLain here with us today.
So great to be here.
So great to have you.
Yeah.
Michelle, good evening.
Good evening.
And Katrina
Great to be
and
back.
Vanessa. Michelle, we haven't seen you in a long time. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to all of you. I've been busy. I went home for the holidays and did a cross-country road trip for that. So nice to have a couple of weeks home and get to see my family and friends back east. And yeah, so good to be back in the swing of things at the round table here.
And you now know who Larry Sherman is from the West Coast at the Neil Company. So
I do. Fantastic photo. Loved it. Yeah.
Larry, great photo. Yeah. So Larry's on a parts panel with Kaylee Filio that is coming up soon. So looking forward.
Fantastic. Looking forward to that.
So a lot happened. So you've been busy, Michelle?
I have been busy working on our event and got new clients that have been rolling in this year. It's been 2023 was a record-breaking year for us over here, and stepping up for 2024 to do a lot of really cool stuff with a lot of really cool people. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been busy, but it's been exciting. You know, I always love coming into a new year, new goals. I'm not a fan of the new year, new me practice necessarily, but I like to say new year, better me. And yeah, I'm excited. So what have you guys been up to?
Not much.
Not much.
Well, these two are back at school, right?
Yes,
Katrina today?
the dorm. The lovely apartment.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Is it good to be back at school?
Yes.
It is.
It
We
is.
moved back in yesterday. It was really snowy. The parking lot was not very plowed. So a couple trips up from the car with all of my, goods, new Christmas stuff. It took me about an hour, but it's really good to be back. I'm back into the swing of things.
And you had quite an adventure, both of you. Like while you were gone, you went away and cruising. You had a good trip, and you got more travel ahead of you, from what I understand. So,
Yeah.
Yes, so excited.
but in the meantime, we have an event coming up, right? And it is coming up, Michelle. It is 2 weeks from today, right?
I believe so. Yes. 2 weeks from today. Always
Right.
seems like it just creeps
Crazy.
up on us, right?
Vanessa, give us the whole story here. What's happening with this thing?
Yes. So our next big event is the Knights of the Round Table. It's 4 days, all virtual and online, and it's happening January 29th through February 1st. So 2 weeks away, coming up very fast. But the good news is you can still get your complimentary tickets right now at fixedopsroundtable.com. So make sure to visit that website and secure your seat at the table for our next event.
Yeah. So we've got a great lineup. There's Ed Roberts. I'll see Ed tomorrow. Sean Kingery. I'll see him tomorrow as well. And Sarah and Tully. And so Tully's going to actually kick off the event, Katrina. So when you do the transitions, the first speaker is going to be Tully. My daughter has it as King Tully in there. So we'll see if he wears a crown. So.
Automotive royalty.
It definitely is. And, there are some other virtual events going on in automotive right now, Michelle. And I participated in one of them recently that's coming up soon. And I think a lot of people have a better understanding now of, why we start so early to promote these things and why you start months ahead of time, with the graphics and the fonts and, tell us why you do that. And you're on mute.
Number one, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of planning. It's a lot of preparation. But, when it comes to the creative process, it's not just like a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Everything has to be precise. I always want things that go out on the behalf of the roundtable. Our colors, our graphics, everything kind of has to go together in sync and in unison. And we want that wow factor. We want people to go, wow. We want people to say, oh, I want to sign up. Oh, I want to go to that event. So I spent a lot of time, behind the scenes before we even start promoting the event, going back and forth, of course, with you, Ted, and our other people that are involved with our process, really kind of laying out the creative process and making sure that, everything looks like a cohesive brand image. So it's a lot of work behind the scenes, but it's fun. It's truly my passion. I love what I do.
How early do you start on these themes? And I know this last time we had like a change midway what we were going to do, but typically how long do you start?
Generally speaking, I try to stay 2 events ahead, at least in terms of kind of looking at the content for the next event. Obviously, we have another one that's going to be coming up here in a few months. I'm already preparing that kind of content, at least pulling things that I think kind of like my own virtual creative vision board. I start putting pieces together, looking at things that I think will go well, things that won't, looking at fonts, different graphic backgrounds that we can use, and just making sure that everything is lined up and ready to go so that when we are ready to launch the next event, we're just not starting from scratch. It is a creative process, but I like to think of my head as like a virtual Pinterest board, if you will. And I put things in folders and files, and I start getting pretty meticulous about organizing at least a few months ahead of time before we do one of these things.
So are you saying you already know the theme for the next event in May?
I do. Yes, I do.
That's
Should we announce it tonight?
That will be announced at the end of our event.
Well, for sure it'll be announced then. Do we give any hints between now and then or no?
It's a throwback-ish theme. We'll just leave it at that. Very vague, yes, but it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think that it's going to really capture a lot of the generation of the automotive industry when many of us started. And I think it's going to be fun. I hope to see a lot of people come out in costumes and dressing up and really playing towards the era and the theme. And I think it's going to be great. I think people are going to have a lot of fun with it. So.
awesome.
And Robert Miggs is commenting and complimenting you on all the headshot. Those have to be a lot of work, and especially when people want changes and these ladies are easy, right? When it comes to the photos and all that, but not everybody is.
But my whole thing is, and I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter whether you're advertising a personal brand or a business brand, you always want to put your best face forward, because sometimes it's only the first impression that you get. So I think that it's really important. And a lot of times people, whether it's on their social media or in events, what have you, it's a selfie in the car or something like that. And while you might think you look amazing, from a professional standpoint, that doesn't really scream, hey, shake my hand virtually. So I try to make people put their best face forward, look at their best. And sometimes we have to get creative with that and make crops and edits and change backgrounds and some things. But, again, creative is my passion in life. So it's a lot of fun. And I get more compliments on it and people that say thank you than naysayers. So, I'll take my wins and losses.
I look at the headshots we did a couple, 3, 4, 5 years ago compared to now. Big difference.
Yeah. Well, the invention of AI and software and things like that have made it a whole lot easier to do editing. I'm still always going to be the biggest proponent of Photoshop. It was really the original editing tool. I do most of my editing with that. But there's a lot of cool apps now that have come out too that have made it a lot simpler, even for like the normal Joe, that if they want to create something, they can. And so I don't think there's so many excuses, I guess I'll say that, for people not to have a professional headshot in this day and age. It is something that you can do relatively inexpensive. And even these days, hiring a professional top photographer, if you have an organization, I think that's something that's really important too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tonight it's about you, Michelle. I know the ladies have some questions for you. They met you a few months back, and you've been involved with the creative process. And sometimes close up. Sometimes, by the way, it's probably a good thing when you're not always close up, right? When we let them run with what they got going, that's usually a good sign, right, Michelle?
It takes a team. I mean, it really does. They say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a team of really dedicated people to raise the Roundtable to where it has been and where it has gotten to this point. I mean, I cannot in any capacity take credit for all of the creative that goes into this. We have a whole team of people behind the scenes that are working diligently. And, the greatest blessing is that I've gotten to know Ted on such a great level that I kind of can anticipate what he's looking for and what he wants. And that, of course, makes the creative process a whole lot easier as well. So, but no, we have an amazing and incredible team of people that are promoting this and helping us behind the scenes to make sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And it's really fun. Truthfully, it's been really fun growing this brand together.
I'm not always the easiest to understand, right? In terms of what I'm looking for.
That's the beauty of our relationship at this point. I don't necessarily need to understand. I just think, okay, what would Ted do? Like that's my new thing, WWTD. What would Ted do? And once you get to that point in a client business relationship and you really build that kind of a relationship with anybody, you can kind of be preemptive about it. And you're like, oh no, I know he would hate that. He would like that. He would love that. And I mean, I still bounce everything off of you with the final decision for creative, but I think we work really well together. And that's kind of the beauty of how well we work together. It's the event coming forward and you see what actually comes to fruition from it. So no, it's been fun.
Sean Kinger, you getting this down? All right. So
Oh, Sean, you're one of my most favorite people in the world as well. Thanks, friend.
All right. Here she is, ladies. So have at her.
Fire away.
Yeah, we'll start. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Yes.
In the green room before, whatever you want to call it, we were talking about how Michelle's hashtag resembles kind of similar things to Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So do you want to talk about your hashtag and what it means to you and how it fits with today?
No, absolutely. Well, most of you at this point, if you do follow me on social media, you know me for my hashtag We Rise Together, my infamous green hearts. And it's just something that's really near and dear to me. I truly believe in the power of reciprocity. And I was telling you guys backstage, I've literally built my entire brand, my online presence, everything that I've done, both in business and my personal life, has been built around the principle of reciprocity. And for those of you that may not be familiar with that term, essentially it's give to get. And so I always want to be that person that is giving more than I take. I want to be the person that is helping people brand themselves to win and build companies. I want people to realize that it's not just, a figment of your imagination, if you will. Anybody that truly wants to put in the time and the effort and the work, they can build something from the ground up. I've proven it over and over again, not just with my own brand, which I bootstrapped from nothing, but in all of the clients that we help as well, and the people that we've helped to build their own brand and to do whatever it is that they're longing to do. And if you have the passion, at the end of the day, I mean, the sky is the limit. And so I've literally networked my way, if you will, to the top, virtually and otherwise. I love shaking hands. I love giving hugs. I love being the person that if somebody says, hey, I need this or I need that, to be able to put the right people together in the right rooms and make it happen, even if I'm not necessarily the right person to do that for them. And, it served me well. And so this Martin Luther King Day, as we're talking about diversity and unity and the way of everything is going, both in life and the world, I think that that's something that's really important to always circle back to, which, again, at the end of the day, it's about rising together. It's about leading other people and showing that you're willing to give a helping hand. And that's not to say that you ever want to be taken advantage of course, but everything that I've put out into the world has been given back to me tenfold and more. And I'll bleed it till the day I die.
There need to be more people like you in this world, Michelle.
Thank you.
Seriously.
I lead with my heart. Sometimes it doesn't always serve its best purpose, but I'm going to continue leading with my heart because it's changed a lot of lives. It's changed my own life. So
yeah,
that's
awesome.
Amazing.
Thanks.
So elaborate more on I'm curious on the green hearts.
So a lot of people know the story, a lot of people don't, and I don't want to get somber, but in 2016 I lost my husband to suicide, and it was something that was really, really traumatic for me. And so on the verge of that and going through that healing process and everything that I went through, the color green, which is the color of mental health, it became something that was just really important to me. But beyond that, I have a background in automotive. I'm in sales, I'm in marketing. And anytime that you've ever been to a dealership, you probably see your deals that are being put together with a green Sharpie. And that was the case when I worked in automotive. I would be behind the desk, and every single deal that went out in green Sharpie. And so green also represents to me it means go. And green is also the color of growth. Which is really at the core of everything that I do. So it's kind of a trifold purpose. Like I said, the mental health piece is something that's really important to me. You'll see me commonly talking about suicide awareness and things like that. But again, beyond that, green means go. It's the color of growth. It's the color of all new things. And I really kind of reinvented myself with that color green. And so that's why it's something that's so important to me.
Earlier, she was saying she's dyed her hair every color in the rainbow except green, but I think this is a sign.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think my stylist would get too keen on the green hair. It fades very quickly. Yeah, maybe I can get some of those pop-in pieces or something.
Yeah.
Green
Feathers
streaks
going on.
I don't know about the whole neon green hair. Just not my thing.
I have a question. Did you?
Ted to do it in honor of me. Green hair, Ted.
I'll do it.
For our next
Yes,
You know I'll do it.
Ted.
Not even a doubt. I'll do it. Do it Wednesday. Did you plan on getting in the car business? Was that a part, like by design? You got in? Is that a career choice for you?
No, and it's funny. The more times that I've spoken to people than not in the car business, it was kind of a fluke for most of us, right?
Yeah.
In my particular instance, I was actually going to school and I was waitressing. I was working 3 jobs, and I went out one night after my double shift at a restaurant. And when I turned on my car, it literally looked like something from like Back to the Future. I mean, it was just emitting smoke all over the place. I had at the time, it was a 94 Mazda MX-3. And it was like my very first car. Well, the engine blew. And my mom came to pick me up from work. And on the way home, she's like, hey, why don't we stop at the dealership? And it was literally like 10 minutes till close. I was the quintessential 17-and-a-half-year-old tire kicker. But nevertheless, I'm like, whatever. So we walked in, and they were trying to sell me some shady post-dated deal past my 18th birthday. They were the kind of organization that, no kidding, they were still like manufacturing pay stubs and driver's licenses. They had like their whole setup in the back. I mean, it was mortifying, right? Nevertheless, so the sales manager was literally hounding me for 3 weeks, like calling me every day. You're going to come buy a car. You're 18 now. You're going to come buy a car. And I'm like, stop. I'm not buying a car. I don't want anything to do with your dealership. Leave me alone. And the very last phone call was, well, if I can't get you to come and buy a car, would you be interested in selling and getting a job? Like, can I sell you a job, and will you help me change the culture? They never had women on the sales floor. It was not common. I mean, this was back in 2000. So it wasn't common to see women in the car business, much less in the position of management or anything like that. But I negotiated my own deal, and I said, I'll tell you what, you pay for my college, I'll come and work for your dealership. And he kind of laughed. And he said, I'll tell you what, you sell a minimum of 10 cars a month for 6 months, I will reimburse your college tuition. And I said, done. And my first full month, I sold 14.5 units to 28 grand in gross, and just went up from there. I was salesperson of the month numerous times in that first year. I was ultimately promoted to a closer. I went into F&I, started doing a lot of secondary, and I kind of worked my way up through the ranks to where my last dealership, I was the equivalent of a general sales manager. And here we are 24 years later. Wow. I went in to literally do nothing of the above. I just wanted to go to school. I was going to be an attorney. That was my life plan. I was going to school to be an attorney. And I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the car business, and I fell in love with changing lives, and I stayed. So
Tony Owens, did you hear that? She was a closer. Michelle was a closer. You ladies don't know what
the reason why I have earned my coffee. Only the old people will get that.
Do you ladies know what a closer is? That's not a common term today, right? Michelle, they don't use that today in the
no, they don't. We don't use Foursquares anymore. We don't use a lot of the things. It's so funny looking back, and I'm glad they've evolved and they've made a lot of changes in the industry. I mean, I was the girl who was raised on the generation of, showing my age here, the movie Suckers. That was literally my car sales training. So if that gives you any kind of perspective, I mean, it's been a long time, but yeah, it was rough. You had to have the skin of a rhinoceros to make it, not just even in the car business, but as a woman, especially. I remember going in my first week and I felt like a guppy in a shark tank. I mean, there was no such thing as training. It was get out in the lot and stand on your up point and go talk to somebody. Wow. And it was just, I kind of made my own sales process. I got run over by a lot of the sales guys that accused me of what we called back then skating, just because I was friendly and I was saying hello to their customers while they were waiting to finish a deal or things like that. So I learned a lot.
Tony, she's a skater too. Wow.
I never skated anybody, not intentionally, but I was just friendly.
Look at all these terms that everyone's learning tonight, right?
Yeah.
Closer,
I would just
skater.
shake hands and offer coffee to people that were waiting in the lounge. I mean, that was just me. And most of the guys that I worked with were old school car guys. And that was just frowned upon. You didn't talk to other people's customers, even if it was a smile, like you didn't do that. And so again, I learned a lot of things the hard way, but you know, it served me well. And I can't speak of a better industry. I love the car business. I will always in one form or another be a part of the car business. And, you know, it's gotten me to where I am today, and I'm grateful for that. So
now,
were you one of those people who ran out to the car to greet the customer at the door and pull him in? Was that you?
We had what we called an up. We had an up system.
You had an up system. Oh my God.
An up system where we called what you would stand outside on point, and then everybody was supposed to rotate the customers, but it rarely happened. But yeah, I mean, I still see that sometimes to this day when I drive up to a dealership to go and work with that dealership. I'll drive in my practically brand new Subaru, and like flies to turds, like they'll come to my car, and I'm like, back off. Like, once you know who I am, you'll understand why I said back off. And, you know, but fortunately, you know, I don't even buy cars the way I used to. I call up my buddies like Brian Benstock or David Long, and I'm like, hey, I need a car. It's cleaned up. The paperwork's done. It's ready to go. I walk in, I sign, I leave. So that's, I guess, the beauty of being in the car business 24 years. You've earned the right to do that.
It's not a 4-hour process anymore.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Yeah. Good for you.
So I actually have a follow-up question about that. So if you went to school to eventually become an attorney, and then you fell into the car business, how did you get into the marketing side of it?
Another one of those things that it's just kind of fell in my lap. So back in 2013, 2014, I was really kind of advocating for women in the car business. I was in a management position. I was doing a lot of stuff that was more outward, doing social media, marketing, things like that. And at one point, before I ended up leaving my last store, I was tasked with handling CSI and KPIs, basically for the entire store. So that was following up not just with the customers who'd bought, but also customers in service, and trying to figure out a creative way to keep the customers engaged, not only between the sales, but also ensuring that they returned their surveys, because that's a really big thing, especially now with them being digital. We were just kind of going into the digital and emailed route when I was still in a store, where now that's how it's all done, but we still had paper surveys. And so I would create, you know, these awesome little logo cookie tins or unique postcards, you know, that had the salesperson or my photo on them. I wanted to make every single customer feel like the only customer. And so I really kind of thought outside the box. I was doing things at the time where a lot of dealerships actually were still locking down social media. We had what was called Safe Sense, if you remember that. These girls probably don't. But it was basically like the web was just shut down. You weren't allowed to be on social media. I took that as an opportunity, and I said, I want you to unblock this for me. I want to start marketing on social media. I want to start using the tools. These are free tools at our disposal. And at the time, nobody was taking advantage of that. And I said, okay, I'm going to go outside of the box. I'm in a management role here. I'm making an executive decision that this is what we're going to do. And so gradually, I just started doing it on my own pages, and I started doing marketing. And at the end of that, I said, listen, I deserve a little more. They owed me a lot of money and bonus money because I don't think they truly understood what I was capable of doing. And by the time I walked away, it was to the tune of about $30,000. And I said, pay me my money or I'm leaving. And they looked at me and kind of laughed and said, well, we didn't anticipate this. And I said, well, I guess you can anticipate me walking out the door. If I can do this for your dealership, I can do it for every store in the country. And so I did. And as the grass isn't greener speech echoed me out the doors, I left scared, shaking, had no clue what I was doing, and decided I was going to bootstrap my own company. And the irony of all of that is just a couple of weeks ago, the last dealership I worked at is doing a grand opening in a couple of weeks and asked me to come back for that event. Mm-hmm. So people are paying attention, you know, even if it's not on the best of terms that you walk away, sometimes it's the best thing you can do for yourself. And it was the best thing I could have done for me.
That's amazing. What a story right there. That's awesome.
Hasn't been easy, but it's been fun. It's been a journey.
So out of all, like, everything in your life, all your experiences, what is like one thing in your past that has really led you to where you are today? It can be an experience. It can be, people. I mean, you know, when I was going through all of the trauma that I went through in my life and coming out of that really dark place, it was tough. And I think sometimes, you know, on the surface, it's really difficult for us to see what other people see in us.
And I was so incredibly blessed and fortunate to have people like a Ted Ings or a Lisa Copeland or a Brian Benstock or a Scott Simons or Eliza Borges or just Glenn Lundy, all of these incredible powerhouses that were in the automotive industry that saw in me what I couldn't see. And I remember in 2000, and I believe it was 2019, I remember going to an event. I went to an automotive event, and it was one that Glenn Lundy was putting on. And in the middle of all of that, I was actually called to the stage. I was handed a snake, of all things, which I'm terrified of. They put a boa constrictor on my back, and my faith is something that's very important to me. So in the midst of all of this, there's 300-400 people in this room watching this girl who has no confidence, who her spirit has been broken, take this 200-pound boa constrictor, lift it up over her head and say, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And that moment, that single moment, changed everything in my life, everything. I was in this room full of influencers and really powerful people in automotive who were just in tears. And I remember when I got off that stage, they embraced me and they said, you've earned your seat at this table. Welcome aboard. And I was terrified. I didn't know what I was doing, but I had kept working and kept working and kept working and kept working. And I did so much free work for so many people. I was that person, going back to my hashtag, We Rise Together, that I'm like, if you need something, I'm here. If I can help, I'm here. You lost your laptop and you need somebody to deliver you one in the middle of right before you go on stage, I'm here. Made that happen for somebody. Like, I did a lot of things for a lot of people behind the scenes because I genuinely cared. And it all came back to me. And then when I finally got to the point where I was ready to fly and launch my business and start a weight loss journey and do all the things that I did, those same people that I had supported in everything that they did came back in flocks and said, here we are. What can we do to help you? Yeah. And that's how I built my company. And it's been an incredible, incredible journey. That's awesome. People are everything. Never, ever discount the power of networking or shaking hands or doing a kindness for somebody else. I say it all the time, like, bestow an unexpected kindness on an unsuspecting soul, and you will be amazed what happens to your life. True story.
Wow. That's amazing.
Thank you, Michelle.
Speaking of networking, connecting, really quickly, how did you meet Ted and get started with the Fixed Ops Roundtable?
So I was actually doing a lot of just my own marketing pieces and graphics online. And a friend of the Roundtable started like seeing a lot of my work and was like, who does your work? And I said, well, I do. Actually, Becky Chernick.
Becky Chernick.
Yeah, Becky Chernick.
I met Michelle through Becky Chernick.
Yes. And so Becky called me up one day and she's like, you've done all this stuff. She's like, you've done some stuff for me. She's like, I have this eccentric guy who's trying to start this new event that's all new. It's never been done before. And he needs some help with graphics and marketing. And I said, okay, send him my way. And Ted and I text back and forth for an entire day going over creative. And I think I probably threw no less than 50 images at him. And he's like, no, it's not bold enough. No, it's not extra enough. No, it's not this. No, it's not that. It needs to be in your face. The extra that Ted is.
Everything was no. Yeah.
Everything was no. And I turned off every device. I sat down with pen and paper and I'm like, he wants extra, he wants bold. And I came up with this idea of like, okay, he's doing a new event. We're going to make a red carpet theme. And when we laid that down, it went from no to this is fantastic. And we've been working together ever since. But I think what really solidified the partnership was right around that same time in 2019. I'd done a little bit of work for him. I was doing more a la carte stuff than anything. But he was at a live event. They were getting ready to go on stage and like 10 people sent in PowerPoint presentations at the last minute. Nothing was put into the master PowerPoint. And he called me at 3:00 in the morning. I answered the phone. I said, I got it covered. Send it to me.
It was 4 in the morning.
It was like 4. Yeah. It was early. And I said, got it covered, just whatever you need, send them over to me and I'll get it taken care of. And I got it taken care of. And from that point, I think Ted realized I was just a different breed of human being. Like my work ethic, I don't brag on myself. I'm not that person, but my work ethic is literally next to none. And if I say I'm going to do something, I follow through, I do it, I show up, I make sure it gets done. Like Ted can ask anything. And even if I have 12,000 things that I'm juggling, he knows without a doubt, like Michelle's going to get it taken care of. And that philosophy, I think, has served me well, not just with Ted and the Roundtable, but with every client that I have, because they know that they can depend on me. They know I'll get things done quickly and I'll get it done right the first time.
I love it.
All true. True story.
Thank you. I try. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect by any means, but I do try. And I promise you, I will work harder than anybody in this industry when it comes to doing what needs to be done. So.
And what she's not telling you is that sometime, like in the next 2 weeks, right before an event comes up, I will call her or text her, Vanessa, and I will do that in a panic. Okay.
Yes,
and I will say,
I'm also Ted's therapist.
She will talk me down off the roof. Okay. And say, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. So
that's true. But you know what? I think that just to end on that note, I think that's really what separates the good from the great. It's being able to build those kind of relationships that your clients know that they can do that they know that they can trust you, that they know that if they're going through something difficult, whether it's in life or business or whatever, that you're not just quote unquote an employee, you're not just a client relationship, that you're also their friend. Right. And that they realize that life happens and like you can be that person for them to go, okay, you're going through this. I got you no matter what. And at the same time, you on the other end of that, I know that no matter what, if something is going on in my life, if something happens to me, I could pick up the phone day or night and say, Ted, this is going on. And Ted's going to say the same thing. I got you. And that's the beautiful thing about reciprocity. It's giving to get, it's building those relationships, it's being your authentic and true self, and letting the people around you know that they can count on you no matter what. That's what builds a winning brand. And that's what I do every single day.
You're amazing.
Our great friend and colleague, Sean Butler, a couple weeks ago announced his prognosis. It's not great. Okay. And we've all been rallying and circling the wagons for Sean. He is coming up here to New York this weekend with his wife and daughter to Sloan Kettering to start a process with them. And I'm going to meet them in New York this weekend. So I'm going to see them. But he wanted me to announce, which he also posted on social media in the last 24 hours. He is going to have, they're going to have, and this is hard to say, a celebration of his life on in Lynchburg, Virginia on September 14th. And he's got all the details here, Emerald Falls Farm. And they've got a plan that's going to start at 5 p.m. It's catered, barbecue, DJ, free beer, cash liquor bar. Okay. Different people speaking on the top of each hour and having a great time. And I texted him back, Michelle. I said, he told me this a few weeks ago. And I said, this is hard to fathom. Okay. And he reassured me. He said, but why not have fun? Okay. We may hit a miracle between now and then. I got Sloan Kettering next week and possibly MD Anderson in Houston next. We are not giving up. And I said, yes, that's much better. So
Sean, we are all praying for a miracle for you, my friend. I am the biggest believer in miracles. I've seen them happen in my own life more than I even can care to count. I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for miracles. So I believe in that. But at the same time, I want you to know that you don't have to have all the bells and whistles. You just say, hey, I'm doing this and I would love to see you, and people are going to come. So please don't think that you have to provide beer and wine and liquor and food and the whole 9 yards and fireworks for people to show up for you, because you, my friend, show up for people too. So just know that we are praying for you.
A great fighter, toughest person I know. We'll be back on a Wednesday night, everybody. Got another great show planned. I want to thank Michelle McLain for being here tonight, and Katrina and Vanessa, and everybody here supporting us. Our great friend Sean Butler as well. And great show planned on a Wednesday. Got some surprise guests. We got 2 of them very popular here on the After Dark show. They're going to be with us. So stay tuned for that. And of course, the big show is coming up 2 weeks from today. So fixedopsroundtable.com, get your tickets and hit that share button. And we will see you all on Wednesday night.